It's amazing how much we can actually say with just a handful of words, right?
Mhm.
Like, especially when those words come together to form an idiom, it's like having a secret code almost,
Yeah.
Like you unlock this deeper level of meaning and connection beyond just like the surface of the words themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like
Yeah.
tapping into this shared knowledge, this cultural understanding, and you can get across these really complex ideas, but like in a really concise way.
Yeah.
And that's what makes idioms so powerful. I mean, they're everywhere in how native speakers talk.
And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today, this world of like advanced English idioms, the kind of phrases that you hear native speakers using all the time. Think of it like you're getting the VIP pass to fluency.
Exactly. You got to move past just knowing what the words mean in the dictionary. You got to grasp what they actually imply, you know, the feeling, but
Yeah.
cultural context.
So in this deep dive, we're going to explore a whole bunch of these advanced idioms. And to make it easier on Jan, we've kind of grouped them into these different categories. And for each one, we'll break down like what it means, why it works, and how it brings, that extra layer of meaning to the conversation. And of course, we'll give you plenty of real life examples.
By the end of this, you'll have a really solid grasp of some key advanced idioms, ones that you can start recognizing and maybe even using yourself.
All right, so let's get this show on the road. We'll kick things off with idioms that you're likely to bump into just, in everyday situations. The first one we're tackling is bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet is a pretty colorful way of saying to endure a tough situation, something painful or difficult, but facing it with courage. You're not backing down, you're not complaining, just taking it head on.
Right, like saying, I really didn't want to redo that whole report, but I just had to bite the bullet and get it done. Oh, and we even have a little conversation snippet for you.
Oh,
So picture this Emma sighs and says, ugh, I've been putting off this dentist appointment for weeks. I know I need a root canal.
oof. Yeah, that's a tough one.
And Jake says, yeah, it's probably not going to be fun, but sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and get it over with. You'll feel better once it's done.
It's true.
Yeah.
And it's interesting about bite the bullet. There's this possible link to like battlefield medicine. Imagine back in the day before proper anesthesia, a soldier might actually bite down on a bullet to deal with the pain of surgery.
Wow, I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's pretty intense imagery.
It really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It really underlines the idea of just pushing through serious discomfort without flinching.
Wow, that historical context really adds another dimension to it. Now think about yourself for a second. Can you remember a time when you had to face something really unpleasant? Something you were totally dreading, but you knew you had to just bite the bullet and go through it? I mean, we've all been there, right? It's part of life.
It is. And that's what makes this idiom so relatable. You know, we all get that feeling of having to just push through tough times.
Okay, let's move on to the next idiom in our everyday situations category. We've got hit the nail on the head.
Ah, yes, hit the nail on the head. This one means you're describing something perfectly. You're identifying the root cause of a problem, or you're just spot on with your assessment of a situation. It's about pinpoint accuracy.
Like if someone said, when she pointed out our marketing strategy was outdated, she really hit the nail on the head.
Exactly.
Oh, and here's another little conversation snippet.
Let's hear it.
Tom's super frustrated and says, I can't figure out why our website traffic is down. And Lisa's like, have we thought about maybe our social media engagement has dropped off? And Tom's like, you know what, you hit the nail on the head. They're probably connected.
It's funny, right? You can almost picture someone like perfectly striking a nail with a hammer.
Yeah.
No hesitation, no missing the mark.
It really captures that feeling of being absolutely right.
It's more than just agreeing, It's like acknowledging that someone has diagnosed the problem perfectly.
Has there ever been a time when someone just like nailed it when describing a problem you were dealing with?
Oh, for sure. And it feels so validating when that happens, like you're finally understood.
Totally. It's like they haven't just guessed right. They've identified the exact point of failure. And that can be super helpful for moving forward.
Absolutely. It often helps you find a better solution.
Okay, so our last idiom in this everyday situations group is the ball is in your court.
Ah, yes. The ball is in your court. This one means it's your turn to act. You're the one who needs to make the next move or decision. The responsibility is all yours.
Like saying, I've sent you all the documents, now the ball is in your court. Just let me know what you decide.
Perfect example.
And we've got another little chat here. Steve asked Linda, so are we going to move forward with the merger? And Linda's like, I've done all my research and given you my feedback. The ball is in your court now, Steve. It's your call.
It's so clear, right? Like you can imagine a tennis match or basketball game where the ball is literally in one player's possession and everyone's waiting for their move.
Right, there's this definite handover of responsibility.
It's very clear who's got the next move.
Can you think of a time when you finished your part of something and then it was like, okay, ball's in their court now? It's such a common phrase for situations where you know things happen in sequence.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's this element of anticipation, sometimes even pressure, depending on, how important the decision is.
Okay, so let's switch gears a bit and head into the world of work and business. The first idiom on our list is back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing board. That one means your first attempt at something didn't work out, so you got to start over, often with a new plan or a totally different approach. And of course, the drawing board is where you create those initial designs and plans.
So like, the investors didn't like our business plan, so it's back to the drawing board to rework our strategy.
Yep, classic example.
And here's a little workplace chat for you. Mark walks up to Sophia looking all defeated and says, well, the client didn't go for our proposal. And Sophia's like, okay, that's a bummer, but it just means back to the drawing board. Time to come up with something even better. Let's brainstorm.
I love that Sophia's staying positive.
She's got the right attitude, right?
Really.
So the idea of literally going back to where the plans were first made, that really emphasizes the need for a fresh start.
It suggests that those first ideas just weren't going to cut it.
It's not about just tweaking things. It's about maybe scrapping the whole thing and coming up with something completely new. Can you remember a time in your career or maybe even a personal project where you hit a wall and it was like, all right, back to the drawing board?
Oh yeah, for sure. It can be frustrating, but sometimes it's the only way to get things right.
It's a chance to learn from your mistakes and ultimately come up with something stronger and more effective.
All right, next up, in our work and business idioms, we have throw in the towel. Throw in the towel. This is a pretty dramatic way of saying I give up or I admit defeat. You're basically waving the white flag, especially when you're up against a massive challenge or, the odds are stacked against you.
Yeah, it's like in boxing when a fighter's corner throws a towel into the ring to signal they can't go on anymore.
Exactly.
And we've got a good example here. After months of trying to meet these impossible deadlines, Sarah decided to throw in the towel and find a less demanding job.
I don't blame her.
And here's a little conversation. John's super stressed out and tells Emily, I've been working on this code for days and I'm getting nowhere. I don't think I can fix it. And Emily's like, hey, come on, don't throw in the towel just yet. Let's take another look at it together. Maybe a fresh perspective will help.
I love that Emily's encouraging him to keep going.
She's a good friend. So throwing in the towel really means you've reached your limit. You feel like you can't keep going and you're ready to just give up. It's like the last resort.
It is. It's that point where your resilience is really being tested.
Have you ever felt that urge to just throw in the towel on something? Like when you're hitting obstacle after obstacle?
Of course. It's human nature to want to give up when things get really tough. But sometimes you just got to push through.
Totally. All right, our last idiom for work and business is think outside the box.
Think outside the box.
Yeah.
Everyone loves this one.
It's a classic.
It means you got to be creative, you got to be innovative. Don't just stick with the usual ideas and the obvious solutions. Come up with something fresh, something original.
Like if we want to really shake things up in the market, we need to think outside the box and create a product that's unlike anything else out there.
Yeah, that's the spirit.
And here's a scenario for you. It's a team meeting, and the manager's like, our marketing campaigns aren't performing as well as they used to. We need new ideas, people. And a team member's like, maybe we should try something totally different, like some interactive online stuff, or even guerrilla marketing. We gotta think outside the box.
I love it. So think outside the box is all about breaking free from those limitations.
Yeah, like challenging the status quo.
Exactly. Be open to ideas that might seem a little weird or unconventional at first.
When have you had to really come up with some innovative solutions? When did you have to think outside the box?
Oh, all the time. And that's often when the best ideas happen, when you're forced to get creative.
For sure. Okay, so now let's step into the world of social situations.
Yeah.
And our first idiom here is the very descriptive, spill the beans.
Spill the beans. This one means you're revealing a secret, usually by accident, or maybe you let it slip a bit too soon.
Now, we were planning a surprise party for John, but his sister spilled the beans when she mentioned it in front of him.
Oops.
Classic slip-up.
And here's a little social interaction for you. Emma asks Sophia, why has Mark been acting so strange lately? Are you hiding something from me? And Sophia's trying to be all mysterious, but she eventually caves and says, Okay, fine, I'll spill the beans. He's going to propose to Jessica.
Oh, that's exciting. So the image of beans scattering everywhere, you know?
Like you can't put them back in the bag. Exactly. It's a perfect way to describe a secret getting out, and it usually happens in a way that's hard to control. It's not usually done maliciously, though, right?
No, it's more like the slip of the tongue.
Like you didn't mean to do it.
Have you ever spilled the beans about something? Or maybe had someone spill the beans to you?
Of course. It happens to everyone.
It's a pretty common social mishap. All right, next up we've got go the extra mile.
Go the extra mile. This one means you're putting in more effort than what's expected. You're going above and beyond to achieve something or to help someone out.
Like, our neighbor really went the extra mile when our car broke down. They drove us to work every day.
Wow, that's really kind.
And in this little conversation, David says to Tom, Lisa stayed late every night this week to make sure the presentation was perfect. And Tom's like, yeah, that's Lisa for you. She always goes the extra mile.
I love that. It shows dedication, you know, and initiative.
It's about that willingness to do more than just the bare minimum.
It shows you really care about the outcome.
Think about the people in your life who always go the extra mile. What kind of impact do they have? It's often those people who make a real difference, right?
Absolutely. They go above and beyond, and that creates strong bonds and leads to success.
Okay, our last idiom for social situations is hit it off.
Hit it off. This one's all about that instant connection you feel with someone you meet. It's like you click right away, you have great rapport, the conversation flows naturally.
Like, I was a little nervous about meeting my new roommate, but we hit it off immediately, and now we're great friends.
Wow, that's awesome.
And here's a little snippet. Rachel's asking Paul about meeting a new colleague, and Paul's all excited and says, it was fantastic. We hit it off right away. We have so much in common.
It's that feeling of instant chemistry, you know?
Yeah.
Like you're on the same wavelength,
We just get each other.
and that can be the start of great friendships and collaborations.
Can you remember a time when you met someone new and you just hit it off?
Oh yeah, many times. It makes building new relationships so much easier and more enjoyable.
It takes the pressure off. Okay, so now we're entering a bit more challenging territory. We're talking about idioms that describe difficult situations. And first up, we have through thick and thin.
Through thick and thin. This one signifies the deep loyalty and support you have for someone. It means you're there for them through good times and bad times, through challenges and successes. Your commitment is unwavering no matter what.
Aw, that's so sweet.
It is.
Like they've been married for 50 years and have supported each other through thick and thin.
What a beautiful example.
And here's a little conversation. Emma says to Jake, thank you for always being there for me no matter what. And Jake's like, of course, Emma. That's what friends do. We stick together through thick and thin.
It's such a powerful expression of a strong bond.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it evokes that image of enduring those tough times together, but also celebrating the good times together. It shows an unbreakable connection.
Who are the people in your life who stood by you through thick and thin? Those are the relationships that really matter.
They are. They give you a sense of security knowing that you're not alone no matter what life throws your way.
Okay, our next idiom for navigating tough times is between a rock and a hard place.
Ooh, between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
This one describes those situations where you're stuck between two really difficult choices. Like there's no easy way out. Both options have downsides.
It's a classic dilemma.
It is.
A good example is I was offered a promotion, which meant more money, but also way longer hours. So I felt like I was between a rock and a hard place.
Oh, I can relate to that.
And here's a little scenario. Sarah's telling Mike about a tough decision she's facing. I don't know what to do. If I stay in my current job, I'm not getting paid enough. But if I move to this new city for a better opportunity, I'll be far from my family. And Mike's like, that's rough, Sarah. You're really between a rock and a hard place.
It's that feeling of being trapped, right? Like
Right.
there's no escape.
Yeah.
And it can be so stressful.
Have you ever been in a situation where you felt totally stuck like that?
Of course. We all have. And sometimes you just have to pick the least bad option because there's no perfect solution.
All right, our last idiom for difficult situations is cut to the chase.
Cut to the chase. This means get straight to the point. Don't waste time with unnecessary details or small talk. Just tell me what's important.
Like, we don't have much time, so let's cut to the chase and discuss the main issues.
Exactly. It's all about being efficient and direct.
And here's a little exchange. A boss is looking at their watch and says to an employee, we're on a tight deadline here. What's the bottom line? And the employee is like, okay, I'll cut to the chase. We're facing a major budget shortfall.
So it's about respecting everyone's time and making sure the important information gets across quickly.
In what kind of situations do you find yourself saying, cut to the chase? I feel like it's super common in work settings or anytime you're pressed for time.
Oh, for sure. It shows that you value everyone's time and that you want to get things done efficiently.
Okay, so now let's talk about some idioms that relate to success and failure. And the first one is pretty interesting. It's a blessing in disguise.
A blessing in disguise.
Hmm.
This one refers to something that seems bad or unlucky at first, but then turns out to have a positive outcome.
Like losing that job I hated ended up being a blessing in disguise because it pushed me to start my own business.
Exactly. Sometimes what seems like a setback is actually an opportunity in disguise.
And here's a little story. Tom's telling Lisa, I was so bummed when my flight got canceled, but then I met this incredible person at the airport and we've been dating ever since. And Lisa's like, wow, that's a total blessing in disguise.
It's all about finding those silver linings right.
Can you think of a time when something bad happened, but looking back, you realize it was actually a blessing in disguise?
Oh yeah, definitely. It just goes to show that things aren't always what they seem.
And that sometimes adversity can lead to unexpected opportunities. Okay, next up we have burn the midnight oil.
Burn the midnight oil. This one means you're working or studying late into the night. You're sacrificing sleep to get things done, meet a deadline, or prepare for something big.
Like, I had to burn the midnight oil to finish this presentation for tomorrow morning.
We've all been there.
And here's a little conversation. Alex sees Nina looking super tired and asks, you look exhausted. What have you been up to? And Nina's like all yawning, I've been burning the midnight oil all week, studying for finals.
Oh yeah, those late night study sessions. So it paints this picture of working when everyone else is asleep.
It shows dedication and hard work.
And sometimes it's necessary to get things done.
Have you ever had to burn the midnight oil to finish a project or get ready for something important?
Absolutely. And it's exhausting, but there's also a sense of accomplishment when you finally finish.
Totally. All right, our final idiom for today is jump on the bandwagon.
Jump on the bandwagon. This one means you're joining a trend or a movement because it's popular or seems like it's going to be successful.
Like, with electric cars becoming so popular, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon and buying one.
Yeah, it's like following the crowd.
And here's a little observation. Tom says to Lisa, it seems like everyone I know is suddenly investing in cryptocurrency. And Lisa's like, yeah, it's a total bandwagon effect.
So it's about that fear of missing out.
Like, you don't want to be the only one not doing it.
And sometimes it's not even about genuine interest, it's just about fitting in.
What trends have you seen people jumping on lately? It happens with everything from technology to fashion to, social causes.
It's a fascinating social phenomenon.
Right.
We're all influenced by what other people are doing.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that learning these advanced idioms isn't just about expanding your vocabulary.
Right.
It's about gaining a deeper understanding of how native English speakers communicate.
It's about understanding those subtle nuances, the implied meanings, the cultural references.
And it's about expressing yourself in a more authentic and engaging way. So we encourage you to start noticing these idioms in everyday conversations.
See if you can spot them.
And maybe even try using a few yourself. It'll boost your fluency and your confidence.
And think about this. By actively listening for and understanding these idioms, you're not just improving your language skills, you're connecting with native speakers on a deeper level. You're getting a glimpse into their cultural mindset.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. Beyond the idioms we've discussed, what other subtle aspects of language do you think are important for truly understanding and connecting with others? Maybe it's the tone of voice, the use of humor, the shared cultural knowledge. It's something to think about. Language is a powerful tool, and there's always more to learn and explore.
Hello and welcome to the Learn English Lab. I'm Mike, and today we're diving into something that's incredibly useful. Simple English sentences for everyday conversations. We have Sarah here, our language expert, to help us unlock the power of these simple phrases. Sarah, are you ready to transform how we communicate in English?
Absolutely, Mike. It's really amazing how much you can actually accomplish with just a small number of well-chosen sentences. We're talking about the basic building blocks of fluency, the key to feeling confident and comfortable in just about any English-speaking situation.
I think so many people get intimidated by learning a new language.
Right.
Like they think that they have to be perfect at grammar or memorize tons of words.
Right.
But wouldn't you agree that it's more about starting with the basics and then building up your skills from there?
I totally agree. Fluency is definitely not about perfection. It's about being able to connect with other people and just expressing yourself clearly. And sometimes, the simplest sentences can be the most effective ones. Think about it like you can greet someone, ask for help with directions, even start a conversation with just a simple phrase that's easy to remember.
Okay, so let's imagine we're meeting someone for the very first time. What's like a go-to sentence that you could use right away?
Well, something as simple as, "Hi, name, nice to meet you," can work really well. And here's a tip. Repeating their name not only helps you remember it, it also shows them that you're actually paying attention and that you value the introduction.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a little trick to make the interaction feel more personal.
Exactly. And then when it's time to say goodbye, you can keep it simple and friendly with phrases like, "See you later," or "It was great catching up with you, take care." And then, of course, if it's later in the evening, "Good night" always works.
So these are phrases you can use every single day, no matter what your level of English is. And speaking of levels, let's not forget about those times when you might need a little help understanding. What would you recommend saying in those situations, Sarah?
Well, don't hesitate to just be upfront and say something like, "I'm still learning English, so could you please speak slowly?" Or "Could you please say that again?" Most people are pretty understanding about it, especially when they see that you're really trying.
Right, it's all about clear communication. Now let's move on to something that I find really interesting, small talk. It might seem kind of trivial at first, but it actually plays a huge role in building connections and just making interactions go more smoothly.
Absolutely. Small talk is like a bridge between strangers. It's those quick, informal conversations that help us find things we have in common and just avoid those awkward silences. You could talk about the weather, ask someone about their weekend, or you could even just compliment something about their style.
I really like the idea of complimenting someone's style because it's such an easy way to be friendly.
Yeah.
What are some simple sentences we could use to do that?
Well, if you like someone's shoes or maybe a piece of jewelry, you could say, "I love your item. Where did you get it?" It's a genuine compliment and it lets them share a little bit about themselves.
Oh, so that open-ended question is key. It makes the conversation last longer than just a simple thank you.
Uh-huh.
Now, what about some other classic small talk topics, like movies or TV shows? How can we find out what someone likes?
Well, you could try something like, "Have you seen any good movies lately?" Or maybe, "Are there any TV shows that you've been watching?" Those are good conversation starters that let them share what they've been enjoying, and you might even find out that you have some of the same favorites.
I've noticed that people love to talk about the shows they're watching. And of course, we can't forget about food.
Yeah,
It's like a universal language, right?
absolutely. You could ask something as simple as, "Have you tried any new restaurants recently?" Or, "What's your favorite kind of food?" And that could lead to a really fun conversation.
You know what I'm noticing here is that these sentences might seem simple, but they're actually quite strategic. They're designed to really open up the conversation and encourage the other person to share.
Yeah, exactly. They're not just about sharing information, they're about connecting with people and building relationships.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
Now, I'm really interested to dive into some specific situations where these simple sentences can really come in handy. We'll start with work and school, which are two places where being able to communicate clearly is super important.
Okay. In a professional or academic setting, like at work or at school, it's really important to be able to ask for help when you need it. To ask for clarification or just assistance in general, it shows that you're engaged and proactive.
I completely agree. It's way better to just ask a question than to just struggle on your own.
Yeah.
So what are some key phrases that we can use in those types of situations?
Well, if you need something explained, again, don't be shy. Just say, "Could you explain that concept one more time?" Or, "I didn't quite get that. Could you repeat it?" And then if you need help with a specific task, you could say, "Would it be okay if you sent me that report by next week?" Or, "Would you mind taking a look at this when you have a moment?"
Those are really good examples. It's all about being direct, but also respectful.
Yeah.
Now, what about when you're traveling? I can imagine so many situations where those types of simple sentences could be really helpful.
Well, for sure. For travelers especially, being able to communicate clearly is so important. You might have to ask for directions, recommendations, or help at any time.
Right.
Let's say you're in a new city, you could ask someone, "Can you recommend any good restaurants around here?" Or, "What's the best way to get to the airport?"
Those are definitely good to know, especially when you're in a new place.
Yeah.
Now, we can't forget about technology these days.
Yeah.
It seems like we're always communicating online, trying to figure out tech problems, and just navigating the digital world in general.
Yeah, you're right. The digital world has brought a whole new set of communication challenges.
For sure.
Like if you want to connect with someone on social media, you could just say, can I add you on Instagram, Twitter?
Yeah.
It's casual and straightforward.
Yeah. And what about when technology is giving us problems? Like when the Wi-Fi is acting up or the phone signal is weak. How can we explain those situations quickly and clearly?
Well, if your Wi-Fi is being difficult, you could say, I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi is really lagging right now, or my internet is a bit unstable at the moment.
Okay.
And if you're having phone signal problems, you could try, sorry, my phone signal is bad right now, or I think I'm breaking up a little. Can you still hear me?
It's amazing how those little phrases can make things go so much more smoothly. It's all about just setting expectations and keeping the conversation going. Sarah, as we're going through all of these scenarios, I'm starting to see how useful it is to have these sentences ready to go.
Uh-huh.
It's like having this secret code that you can use to communicate in any situation.
I like that analogy. It's about being prepared, having the right tools, and knowing that you can handle just about anything.
Exactly. And speaking of handling different situations, let's talk about something that's important in any language. Expressing gratitude and apologizing.
Yeah, those are like the fundamental social skills that go beyond words.
Yeah.
But thankfully, even just simple sentences can convey those feelings in a sincere way.
Okay, so let's start with thank yous. What are some straightforward ways to show your appreciation?
Well, thank you so much, or I really appreciate it, are always good places to start. And you can always add a personal touch by saying, thank you so much for your help with this, or thank you for your time.
Those are classic for a reason. They're simple, sincere, and they always get the job done.
Yeah.
And what about when we need to apologize?
A simple I'm sorry is usually enough, but
Yeah.
you can always be more specific. You could say I'm sorry that I'm late, or I apologize for that mistake.
And to show that you're taking responsibility, you could say, I apologize for any confusion I might have caused.
That's a great way to show that you want to fix things. Now let's talk about a topic that's really relevant these days: health and well-being. Whether we're talking about how we feel scheduling doctor's appointments or talking about health issues in general, having the right words is essential.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It's all about being able to communicate our needs and our concerns clearly.
Exactly.
So let's start with those day-to-day check-ins. How can we ask someone how they're doing?
You could simply say, how are you feeling today? Or how are you doing? And if you want to be a little more specific, you could ask, did you get enough sleep? Or are you feeling okay?
Those are good. And what if we're the ones who aren't feeling so great? How can we express that to someone else?
You could say, I'm not feeling too well today, or I have a bit of a headache. And if you need to cancel plans because of that, you could say, I'm not feeling well, so I need to cancel our plans for tonight.
Those are helpful phrases for when we're not feeling our best.
Yeah.
What about when we need to see a doctor? What are some phrases we could use?
Well, if you need to schedule an appointment, you could say, I'd like to schedule an appointment, or I need to see the doctor for a checkup. And if you're having specific symptoms, don't be afraid to mention those. You could say, I've been having symptoms, or I'm a little concerned about a health issue.
Yeah, it's really important to feel comfortable talking about those things. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about something that always seems to be a conversation starter. The weather.
Oh, the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the ultimate icebreaker. Whether it's hot or cold, we always seem to find something to say about it.
That's true. So let's say it's a beautiful sunny day. What are some simple ways to comment on the weather?
You could say, it's such a beautiful day today, or the weather's amazing. And if you're really enjoying the sunshine, you could add, I love sunny days like this, don't you?
And how about when it's not so nice outside? Like if it's raining really hard.
In that case, you could say, wow, it's raining cats and dogs out there, or it's a really gloomy day. And if it's freezing, you could say, it's bitterly cold outside, or I'm definitely going to need to bundle up before I go out there.
It's funny how the weather can instantly connect people.
Yeah.
We all experience it, so it's an easy thing to talk about. And you know what else I've noticed, Sarah, is that all these simple sentences we've been talking about, they can be adjusted and expanded to fit almost any situation.
That's such a great point, Mike. These phrases are like building blocks. You can use them as a foundation and then add your own style to them. You can make them longer, more detailed, or more specific as you get more comfortable.
Yeah, and that's what makes learning a language so interesting. It's a process of discovery.
It is.
It's all about finding your own voice and expressing yourself in an authentic way.
I agree. It's about finding your own way with the language.
Well, Sarah, we've covered so much today, from greetings and small talk to travel tips and health concerns, all by using the power of simple sentences.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
And I know our listeners are ready for more.
Oh, there's definitely more to come.
So we'll be back in part 3 to finish our deep dive and give you some final tips and takeaways. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Learn English Lab. We're in the home stretch now of our deep dive into simple English sentences for everyday conversations. And I'm already feeling a lot more confident about using all the phrases we've talked about.
Yeah, it's incredible how much of a difference just a few well-chosen words can make. You know, we've explored so many different scenarios today, and hopefully our listeners are starting to see how simple sentences can really unlock a whole world of possibilities for communication.
I agree. And we're going to keep adding even more tools to our communication toolbox today. Let's talk about a situation that can sometimes feel a bit awkward. Making appointments.
Yeah.
Whether it's for work, a casual hangout with friends, or even a doctor's appointment, there are some key phrases that can make the whole process a lot smoother and less stressful.
Yeah, for sure. It all comes down to clarity and being considerate. You know, when you're trying to find a time that works for everyone, you could start with a question like, what time works best for you? It shows that you're flexible and that you respect their schedule.
Right. And if you're thinking of a specific day, you could ask, are you free sometime next week? Or let's try to meet sometime next Tuesday.
Yeah, those are great options. And if you need to reschedule for some reason, just say, would it be possible to reschedule our meeting? Or something came up. Could we maybe move our appointment to Thursday instead?
I think people sometimes worry about sounding rude when they have to reschedule.
Yeah,
But it's really all about being polite and just saying it directly.
exactly. Honesty and communication are key.
Hmm.
Okay, so now let's move on to another situation that we all probably find ourselves in on a regular basis. Shopping. Whether you're online or in an actual store, having some go-to phrases ready can make the experience much better.
Okay, so imagine you're in a clothing store and you need some help. What's a good way to get a salesperson's attention?
You could try saying, hi, I'm looking for a new pair of jeans, or do you have the shirt in any other colors?
And if you just want to look around for a bit without any help,
You can just say, thanks, I'm just browsing for now. That lets them know that you're okay on your own, and then when you're ready to buy something, you can say, I'll take this, or I'd like to buy this, please.
perfect. Now, online shopping is getting more and more popular all the time. Are there any phrases that are particularly helpful for shopping online?
Oh, definitely. If you can't find what you're looking for, you could ask, can you help me find this item? Or, I'm looking for item, but I'm not seeing it anywhere on your website.
And what if you need to ask about the sizing or have a general question about a product?
Most websites have a chat feature, or you can send an email to customer service. They're usually pretty quick to respond because they want to make sure you have a good experience.
Okay, for our final scenario today, let's talk about a skill that's really important, but sometimes we avoid it. Asking for help. It could be anything from needing directions to needing something explained in a meeting or even needing help with some kind of technical problem.
I think a lot of us hesitate to ask for help because we think it makes us look weak. But you know what? It's actually the opposite. Being able to ask for help shows confidence and that you're open to learning.
Yeah, I totally agree. It shows you're proactive and that you can solve problems. So let's say you're totally lost and need to ask for directions. How would you approach someone?
You could say, excuse me, could you please tell me how to get to location? Or, I think I'm a bit lost. Would you mind pointing me in the right direction?
And if you need help with something at work or at school?
You could ask, could you give me a hand with this? Or, I'm having a little trouble with task. Do you think you could help me out?
And what if you need something clarified or explained again?
Well, in that case, you can always say, could you explain that one more time, please? Or, I'm not sure I understand. Could you maybe rephrase that? Those are always good options.
It's amazing how these simple and direct phrases can really help us in so many different situations.
Yeah, it really is. It's all about practice and figuring out which phrases work best for you. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become.
So here we are at the end of our deep dives into simple English sentences for everyday conversations. Sarah, this has been such a great conversation. I feel like I've learned a lot about the importance of clear and simple communication.
Me too. It's been a pleasure, Mike, and hopefully our listeners are leaving today feeling empowered to handle whatever conversations come their way.
And remember, everyone, fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being confident, connecting with others, and expressing yourself clearly.
Yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes. We all do. The important thing is to just keep practicing and keep learning.
I love that. Embrace those mistakes as opportunities to learn and grow. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you all with a little challenge. Pick 5 new sentences from this episode and try to use them in conversations this week. You might be surprised by how much it helps.
I agree. Put what you've learned into practice. And you might even inspire someone else to start learning English too.
That's a great point. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel. We have so many more tips and tricks coming your way to help you on your language learning journey.
Yeah, until next time, happy learning, everyone.
Okay, so we're back, and we've got this really awesome set of excerpts you sent us from Advanced Vocabulary in American English with pronunciation and examples.
That's a good one.
It is. It's really solid stuff. And what we want to do today is really pull out those words, the ones that you can use to really add some depth to what you're saying and make your communication a little bit more, precise, more interesting.
More nuanced. I think that's the real key here. We're going beyond those dictionary definitions.
Right.
We really want to dive into how you can use these words in real life, and really make an impact with your communication.
Absolutely. And to make it all, sort of easy to follow, we're going to break things down into a few different themes.
Yeah.
We'll start with words that help you express those emotions, like, those really nuanced feelings that we all have. And then, we'll get into words that let you paint really vivid pictures with your language, like the sensory stuff, the descriptive words.
The good stuff,
yeah. And then finally, we'll get into the kind of words that you might use when you're talking about social and political issues.
Oh, you're right.
Those kind of bigger picture concepts.
And all of this is, coming straight from the material you give us. So
exactly.
You picked it out. We're going to dive in.
Yeah. So are you ready? I know I am. Let's jump in.
Let's do it.
All right. So first up, emotions. The very first word that jumped out at me was ebullient, and it's pronounced idiolent. ibuhlent.
Ebullient. That is, that's a great one to start with.
So good.
It really captures that sense of just overflowing and enthusiasm and just energy, excitement. I mean, the text gives examples like a team that's just ebullient after winning a championship, or someone with a really ebullient personality.
You can just feel that energy.
You can, and it's infectious. It's like it's that kind of joy that spreads to everyone around them.
So for you listening, think about a time when you saw someone just absolutely beaming with happiness.
Yeah.
Would you describe them as happy, or would you describe them as ebullient?
Right.
It's that next level. It's more than just smiling. It's
it's
radiating joy.
It's like a polite smile versus someone who's just glowing.
Exactly. So that's ebullient.
All right, so let's go from that really high energy to something a little bit different.
Okay, yeah.
And that's melancholy.
Melancholy, yeah.
Pronounced zev melancholy.
And it means a deep kind of sadness, but it's also
right. It's not just sadness. It's
thoughtful.
Yeah, there's a thoughtfulness to it.
The text talks about, those old photographs, the ones that kind of evoke that,
those old pictures,
that melancholy feeling, or a sad violin tune. It's creating that melancholy atmosphere.
It's like a sadness that makes you want to think. It's almost like a sweet kind of sadness.
Yeah, there's a beauty to it almost.
So for you listening, when would you choose to use melancholy instead of just plain old sad?
Right.
What is it about that word that adds something extra to what you're trying to say?
It's like if you're, sitting on a rainy afternoon, you're looking out the window and you're kind of lost in thought,
Yeah.
Maybe you're thinking about the past, maybe you're just kind of feeling a little bit down.
Yeah.
It's more than just sadness. It's it's a deeper, more reflective kind of emotion.
Okay, so we've got ebullient and we've got melancholy.
Right.
Sure. Now let's look at stoic. Pronounced stoic.
And that one's all about enduring hardship. You're going through something really tough.
Right.
But you're not showing your feelings, you're not complaining. You're just kind of taken it.
So like the text says, someone remaining stoic even though they've just gotten really bad news.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone facing a crisis,
Right.
and they just have this really stoic demeanor.
Yeah. And it speaks to a certain strength, doesn't it? It's like,
Yeah, it's like a quiet strength.
yeah, it's not about not feeling anything. It's about
Right.
choosing not to show it.
Yeah. For you listening, have you ever seen someone face a really difficult situation?
Yeah.
But they just handle it with this incredible composure.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to let it break them.
Mm-hmm.
That's stoic. That's what that word means. Okay, so let's move on to another emotion here. Apathy.
Okay, apathy. Pronounced A-P-O-E, A-P-A.
And apathy is really interesting because it's about a lack of feeling, a lack of interest, enthusiasm, concern. It's like you just don't care.
Like the examples in the text.
Yeah.
A politician who just doesn't seem to care about climate change.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a classroom full of students.
Yeah.
And it's just like this air of apathy, like
nobody cares.
nobody's engaged.
Yeah.
So what's really important here is that apathy is different from dislike.
Yeah, that's key.
If you dislike something, you still have an opinion.
Right.
You still have some feeling about it.
Yeah, you're engaged.
But with apathy, you're just not there.
It's like a void. There's just nothing there.
So think about it this way. You might dislike a particular policy, and you might even argue against it.
Right.
But if you feel apathetic towards something, it's like you can't even be bothered to have an opinion. Okay, let's move on to euphoria.
Euphoria.
That's pronounced euphoria. U-O-V-R-E-A.
And euphoria is it's like intense happiness and excitement.
Yeah, it's like that feeling of like pure joy.
Pure joy, yeah.
Yep.
Like the text gives these examples like, crossing the finish line of a marathon or a team winning a big game and the crowd is just erupting in euphoria.
You're on top of the world.
Yeah.
It's that feeling.
It's like everything is just amazing,
So for you listening,
Yeah.
what are those moments in your life where you would use the word euphoria to describe how you felt?
Right.
Because it's not just your average everyday happiness.
Yeah. It's got to be something big.
It's got to be something good, something really special.
It's like you've achieved something,
Yeah.
or you've experienced something that's just, so incredible.
All right, next up we have languid. Pronounced salacious. Languid.
Languid, yeah. And languid is a really interesting word.
Yeah, it's kind of a soft word,
Yeah, it's about a lack of energy, but it's not negative. Like it's not laziness. It's more like
Right.
A relaxed, dreamy kind of feeling.
The examples they give are great. Like
Yeah.
children on a hot summer afternoon, and they're just kind of moving really slowly,
Yeah, like in a daze.
Yeah, in a daze, or like a voice that's really languid that kind of like suggests that they're tired.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's also kind of like peaceful.
Yeah, there's a peacefulness to it.
Yeah. So how would you use languid in your own writing? Like what kind of atmosphere or mood would you use that word to create?
It's like if you're describing a place that's really relaxed, maybe a tropical island or something, and the pace of life is just really slow and easygoing. Or even, if you're describing someone's movements and they're just really graceful and flowing.
Yeah.
That's languid.
Okay, up next we have pensive.
Pensive. All right.
It's pronounced soul. P-A-N-sive.
And pensive is all about, being deep in thought.
Yeah, it's like you're really thinking hard about something, and maybe there's a little bit of sadness mixed in.
Yeah, there's often a little bit of melancholy there. Like the text gives these examples of, someone who's sitting by a window, they're pensive, they're watching the rain, or someone who's, making a really difficult decision and they have this pensive expression on their face.
Yeah.
It's like their mind is just, working through all these possibilities.
So when you see someone who looks pensive, what do you think is going on in their head?
I think they're weighing something carefully. They're thinking about, the past, the future, maybe they're trying to solve a problem. But there's a seriousness to it, you know? It's not just like daydreaming.
Okay, so pensive is kind of a quiet emotion. Let's look at something a little bit more intense. Exasperation.
Exasperation.
Pronounced exasperation.
And exasperation is like that feeling of,
Yeah.
intense irritation, annoyance, like you're at the end of your rope.
I think we've all been there.
We've all been there, yeah.
Where you're just like, I can't take it anymore.
Right. So the examples they give in the text are, slamming your laptop shut in exasperation because, you're getting these error messages.
Yeah, the computer's not working.
The computer's not working.
Or someone's giving you the same excuse over and over again.
Right, those flimsy excuses.
Yeah.
It's like you're just done.
So what's the difference for you between like regular annoyance and exasperation?
It's the intensity. It's like annoyance is like, oh, this is annoying.
Yeah.
Exasperation is like, I'm gonna scream.
Yeah, it's like you're at your limit.
Yeah, it's that boiling point.
Okay, now let's move on to rapture.
Rapture.
Pronounced rapture.
And rapture is a really powerful word. It's like, it's about being completely overwhelmed by emotion. Usually it's joy or love.
Yeah, it's like you're just like swept away by it.
Swept away, yeah. Like the examples they give in the text are, listening to a really beautiful piece of music and just being in rapture or gazing at a newborn child, with that sense of rapture. It's like you're transported.
So how is rapture different from just like regular happiness or love? What makes it so intense?
It's like, happiness is like, oh, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Love is like, I love this person. Rapture is like, you're almost losing yourself in the feeling.
Yeah, it's like you're completely absorbed by it.
Yeah.
Okay, and last but not least, in our emotions section, we have trepidation.
Trepidation.
That's pronounced trepidation.
Trepidation is basically fear or anxiety.
Yeah.
But it's about something that might happen in the future.
Yeah, it's like that nervous feeling you get when you're anticipating something.
Yeah, anticipating something.
That might be bad.
That might be bad, yeah. So like the text gives the example of going into a job interview and feeling trepidation or being in a dark forest and you're feeling that sense of trepidation.
So how is trepidation different from just like being scared? Like what is it about that word?
It's the anticipation. It's like being scared is like, boo, I'm scared right now.
Right.
Trepidation is like, something bad might happen.
Yeah, it's like something's looming.
Yeah, it's like that knot in your stomach.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of emotional ground here.
Yeah, we've got a good range.
We do. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some of those words that really let us paint pictures with our language.
The sensory stuff.
The sensory stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
So the first word that comes to mind here is luminous.
Luminous. Okay.
Pronounced gelazels.me.n, luminous.
And luminous is all about light.
Yeah, but it's not just like bright.
No, it's more than that. It's like a soft, radiant glow.
The examples they give are really good.
Yeah.
Like a luminous moon over a lake, or a luminous smile.
Yeah. It's like the light is coming from within,
Yeah, it's beautiful. So how would you use luminous in your own writing? Like how would you make your descriptions of light more vivid?
It's all about finding those moments where the light is really special. It's not just about describing something as bright. It's about describing it as luminous.
Okay, next word. Cacophony.
Cacophony, all right.
Pronounced K-F-Funi-san.
K-K-A-Fine. And cacophony is all about sound.
Yeah.
But it's not just any sound.
It's like bad sound.
It's bad sound. It's like a harsh, discordant mixture of sounds.
The examples are kind of funny, like a cacophony of car horns in traffic.
Right, or like a band tuning up.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Everyone's playing at the same time. It's just awful.
So when would you use cacophony to describe a sound? Like when is it more than just like Loud.
When it's unpleasant,
Right.
when it's like it's hurting your ears.
Yeah, it's like nails on a chalkboard kind of sound.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, next word. Tactile.
Tactile. Okay.
That's pronounced tactile.
And tactile is all about the sense of touch.
Yeah, so it's like anything you can feel.
So the text gives these examples like the softness of velvet, or someone who's a tactile learner. They like to learn by doing.
So how would you use tactile to make your writing more specific? Like when you're talking about physical sensations, how can you use that word to really highlight what it feels like?
It's about using it when you're describing something that you can actually touch. So, it's not just about seeing it or hearing it. It's about how it feels against your skin.
Okay, next word. Ephemeral.
Ephemeral, okay.
Pronounced Knefia. T-U-E-A. First no.
Ephemeral is all about things that don't last very long.
Yeah, it's like fleeting.
Fleeting, yeah. Like the text gives these really beautiful examples, like the ephemeral beauty of cherry blossoms, or the ephemeral joy of a perfect moment.
Yeah, it's like they're here 1 minute and gone the next. So how can you use ephemeral to emphasize that something is short-lived?
Yeah.
Like what does that word add to your writing?
I know it's about using it when you want to kind of highlight the preciousness of something that's not going to last.
Yeah. It's like it makes it even more special.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be there forever. Okay, next word. Visceral.
The visceral, all right.
Pronounced dis.rio.ano. V-I-S-O rule.
And visceral is about feelings that are really deep and instinctive.
Yeah, it's like a gut feeling.
A gut feeling, yeah. Like they give the example of having a visceral reaction to a film, or the crowd's visceral cheers after a game-winning play.
It's like you feel it in your whole body.
Yeah, it's not just in your head. Yeah. It's like a physical sensation.
So how is visceral different from just like a regular feeling? Like what makes it so intense?
It's like, a regular feeling is like, oh, I'm happy or I'm sad.
Right.
Visceral is like, you feel it in your gut.
Yeah. It's coming from a deeper place.
Yeah.
Okay, next word. Pungent.
Pungent, okay.
Pronounced Maya, P-N-P-E-D.
And pungent is all about smell. Yeah. It's about a strong, sharp smell.
Like they give the example of the aroma of garlic and onions cooking, or like the stench of an abandoned building.
Yeah, it's like the smell is so strong it almost hurts your nose.
So when is it not enough to just say strong smell? Like when do you need to use pungent?
When it's sharp.
Yeah.
When it's like it's got that fight to it.
Yeah. It's like almost aggressive.
Yeah.
Okay. Next word. Resplendent.
Resplendent.
Pronounced Risold Kalain Tadado. Rish. Splendent.
And resplendent is all about, shining brightly, like dazzling.
Yeah, it's like a really magnificent kind of beauty.
Magnificent beauty, yeah. Like they give these examples of, a queen resplendent in her jewels, or a forest resplendent with the colors of autumn.
Yeah, it's like you can't take your eyes off of it. So how can you use resplendent to make your descriptions of beauty more powerful? Like, what is it about that word?
It's about using it when you want to really emphasize the brilliance and the splendor of something.
Yeah. It's like it's glowing from within.
Yeah.
Okay, next word. Sonorous.
Sonorous. All right.
Pronounced the Sixters.nair. Van Arus.
And sonorous is all about sound again.
Yeah.
But it's about a deep, rich sound.
Like the examples they give. A sonorous voice. Or the sonorous tolling of bells.
Yeah. It's like the sound is full and resonant.
So what kind of sounds do you think deserve to be called sonorous? Like what makes them special?
It's got to be a sound that has depth.
Yeah.
It's got to be a sound that kind of vibrates in your chest.
Yeah. It's like it fills the whole space.
Yeah.
Okay, next word. Diaphanous.
Diaphanous, all right.
Pronounced desav. Yes. Di-AF.
And diaphanous is all about
Yeah.
things that are light and delicate and kind of see-through.
Yeah, it's like they're barely there.
Barely there, yeah. Like, they give the example of, a diaphanous scarf.
Yeah.
Or the diaphanous wings of a dragonfly.
Yeah, it's like you could almost see through them.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you use diaphanous to make your writing more ethereal? Like, what does that word add to your descriptions?
It's about using it when you want to create that sense of lightness and delicacy. It's like the object is almost floating.
Okay, and next we have olfactory.
Olfactory, all right.
Pronounced darylsic.tr.I olfactory.
And olfactory is basically just a fancy word for
Smell.
smell, yeah.
So like they give the example of, the olfactory thrill of fresh coffee. Or like having a really strong sense of smell.
Yeah, heightened olfactory senses.
So when would you use olfactory instead of just smell? Like is there a time when it's more appropriate?